What if leaders who create the greatest impact are not the ones who play it safe, but the ones willing to lead boldly, think differently, and take intentional risks, even in uncertain moments? This is a real question because audacious leadership is not about being reckless. It's about having the courage to move forward with clarity. Come on, let's get this conversation started. Welcome to Transformation Station Leadership Podcast, where we explore the mindset, resilience, and intentional leadership practices that help leaders like you and me to grow, lead with confidence, and create meaningful impact. I'm your host, Adrienne Benton, and today's conversation, it's about bold leadership. We're talking about the kind of leadership that stretches beyond our comfort zones, that challenges our limited thinking and creates transformational courageous action. Today, I'm super excited because I have a guest that I know you're going to connect with. And we're talking about the BOLD framework. All right. So before we start talking about the BOLD framework, we have to celebrate. Let me tell you what we're about to celebrate. Because of you being such an amazing community, guess what? We hit 6,000 podcast downloads. I can't thank you enough for being the type of community that has helped us to grow. We literally are all around the world. Now, let me tell you this. We're in season 4. Isn't that amazing? And if you have missed even one episode of season 1, season 2, season 3, I need you to go back. I need you to go back right now. YouTube, Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram, Buzzsprout, Apple Podcasts, wherever your preferred platform is for podcasts, I need you to go back and I need you to watch the replays. And then I know that you love to give. You're generous, aren't you? So give the gift of sharing the podcast with a minimum of 5 leaders in your network. Transformation Station Leadership Podcast. Guess what? Literally, it's the gift that keeps on giving. Well, I'm super excited to tell you about today's guest. Our guest, his name is Audley Stephenson. Audley is the host of the Audacious Living podcast with over 600 episodes dedicated to helping people like you and me live life audaciously through bold conversations, real stories, and purposeful living. Audley believes that audacity isn't about being reckless or having grand gestures. It's about everyday courage, choosing yourself and inspiring others to do the same. I am inspired already. He's an author, the author of an upcoming book, Living Your Best Audacious Life, set for release in fall of 2026. That's right. Right now, it is my indeed honor to welcome to Transformation Station Leadership Podcast. Audley, we're so glad that you are here with us today. Welcome.
I can't say enough how excited and honored and pleased I am to be here. Adrienne, this is absolutely phenomenal. And I need to, well, first and foremost, congratulations on the 6,000 downloads. As an individual, I've been in the podcasting space since 2008, and I've done many podcasts, and I know how hard the work is. It comes from a place of your heart, not because there's other ulterior motives. It's a true desire to share, and I'm sure certainly been lots of sleepless nights and early mornings, and all of that goes. The behind the scenes stuff, I get it, I understand it, and it's a big deal. And you also did something that I'm a really big fan of, is celebrating everything. I believe in celebrating all of our wins, all of our accomplishments, all of our milestones, and you are to be celebrated. So congratulations.
Thank you. We are living audaciously right here.
Okay. Audaciously.
I have been excited about this episode because I believe that this is a topic that we need to talk about as leaders, celebrating the wins and living life on purpose, not averagely, but audaciously. So, as I was thinking to myself that many of us as leaders, we want growth. That's a part of being a leader, right? We want to have impact. We look for that. We believe in innovation. But many of us, even though we want growth and impact and innovation, we still tend to lead from caution, from fear of failure, or from a need for approval. So I want to start off by asking you this question, the BOLD framework. Like, what does the BOLD framework mean? And why is audacious leadership so important right now?
So I want to give you a little bit of background on how the BOLD framework came to be, because I think it's really, really important, because the BOLD framework was developed over my own personal journey and understanding that the seed of audacity was always inside of me, and I just didn't know it was there. And it needed to be awoken. And I would say that is the case for each and every single one of us. I wholeheartedly believe that we all are born with this audacious spirit. And somewhere along the way, whether it be life, our own doubts, whatever, has dampened that and have made us feel that that is not the case. And if you're looking for evidence of that, watch a baby learning how to walk. By far the most cutest thing ever. Right, they'll get up, and we all have that image, right? They'll get up, they'll wobble a little bit, they may take a step or two, and they'll fall down. And what do they do? They'll get back up again, and they'll try again, and they'll make another step. And it doesn't matter how many times that baby falls down, it'll always try to get back up. And there's no one on the planet that can tell them that you're not meant to walk. You do not have permission to walk. Or here's the rules of what walking. No, that doesn't matter. And that's the audacity that I'm talking about. That despite the concerns, despite the exterior voices or the distractions, that you still move forth. And so when I had sort of gotten to that realization myself, I'm like, wait a second, I am audacious. And I literally remember going through a snapshot of my life. And I was kind of looking at all my milestones, my victories, my accomplishments, and even the setbacks. And what was very clear to me was that common red thread of audacity. It was there the entire time. And it was at that point I'm like, oh my gosh, like I've been doing it and not knowing I'm doing it. And then that sort of got me on the path of being more intentional. How do I continue to do it? How do I not make it accidental? How do I make it very intentional? And that's kind of the seeds of what developed the BOLD framework. And the BOLD framework is an acronym, 4 letters. B stands for better than yesterday. It's built on the foundation that we're always improving. We're always learning. So, Adrian, it's fantastic. You had 6,000 downloads, and I'm glad you celebrated it, and I'm glad that you reached that milestone, but you can get 10. Why not go for more, right? It doesn't rest on what you did, so that's fantastic that when I was 12 years old, my team won the Little League championship in basketball. When I'm 40 years old as a grown adult, that doesn't matter anymore. So it's always looking to build on what you did. And so that's better than yesterday. You always outlast adversity. And, for anyone that's listening that thinks, I don't want to burst anyone's bubble here, but, life is hard and life is with challenges. And we don't get out of this scot-free and unscathed, right? We are going to have some bumps, some bruises, some scars, some residue. It's going to happen. The reality is we still need to continue to push through the other side. So I oftentimes use the analogy of a boulder, right? We've got a boulder on our path, and it's incumbent on us to find a way to get up, over, around, or through, because on the other side of that boulder is where the greatness lies. And when I say greatness, I'm not talking about material wealth, or I'm not talking about, riches or anything of that nature. It's a growth that happens with you, right? Like how many times, Adrian, do we go through something difficult and hard? And in that moment, it's the most difficult thing on the planet. We don't know how we're going to do it. And we find a way to overcome. And all of a sudden, it's not as bad no more. It doesn't matter. It's the rear view. And then when we encounter something similar, we go, oh yeah, I've done this before. Here's what I did. I'll do it again. That's the growth I'm talking about. So outlasting adversity is huge. L is live your truth. And it's directly tied into authenticity, being who you are, living your life, what was intended for you. And I truly believe that we all are intended to live our own individual pathway. And I think one of the problems in our society today is we kind of look to the left and the right and we compare ourselves to others, and we want what they have, and they see what's going on with them, and we want to kind of take that for ourselves. And it's not that we can't learn from each other. It's not that we can't gain some insights or glean or gloss, but the reality is this. The suit that you're wearing, it looks fantastic on you. And if I want that, I got to recognize I need to have it my size. So it's really understanding what we need has to be tailor-fit, tailor-made for us. So that's what Live Your Truth is all about. And then lastly is disrupt the norm. And that, quite frankly, look, if you're going to do any level of greatness or achievement or any level of success, you may have to go off the beaten path. And, look at a guy like Steve Jobs as an example, is a perfect example. He could have continued to make iPhone. He could have continued to make, cellular phones in the same way everyone else was, or use, or develop and create the iPhone. And that's funny. I'm not an iPhone user. I'm still an Android guy, but I still recognize the power and what was created. And so, and that's really what we're talking about. And so when you look at leaders today, I think the BOLD framework fits beautifully because it enables leaders to understand, first off, the BOLD framework isn't linear. Which meaning that I'm not saying you have to start with the B and then you got to go the O. That's not what I'm saying at all, because perhaps you're pretty good at learning and developing or going through adversities. But perhaps the authenticity piece is something you need to work harder on, right? Those are so the BOLD framework allows leaders to be able to sort of figure out for themselves where they can start and work on those specific things. And the key, and I think what makes it so key in all this, and this is really underscores the significance of leadership, that if you are able to do any of these things, even just one of them, you're allowing yourself to build a connection with the people who you are leading. And that connection is the key to success of any leader. And so it's something that I believe wholeheartedly in, something that I promote as much as possible, because I think that's the starting point for success in our lives and for leaders especially.
I love that. So here at Transformation Spaces, we always give our leaders the opportunity to assess, to stop and really hone in on what is being shared. So leaders, I want to invite you right now. What is resonating with you from what Audley has been sharing with us? When you contemplate and consider and reflect on what audacious leadership is for you, I want you to go ahead in the chat right now and begin to tell us what's resonating with you, what comes to mind, and tell us, how are you audacious in your leadership? Let's sharpen one another. I was thinking as you were talking that this is so important right now in the environment and the world in which we're living, because there are so many distractions that are happening. And, it's you have to be audacious if you're going to sustain in leadership right now. And if you're going to do it well, not just for the, I want to achieve, I want to be, I want to have money, but if you're going to really hone in and be a true leader, you're going to have to be courageous and audacious. So I want to ask you this question, right? Why do so many leaders hesitate to lead boldly, even when we know that change is necessary?
Yeah, I'm going to start with the F word. That's fear. That's a big one. We look at if you analyze fear, that's at the heart of so many of our issues and our challenges, because we feel that, and fear is, I'm a big fan of acronyms. So fear is false evidence appearing real. So we see something, we feel that this might be, and here's the thing. We have no evidence to back it, to support it, but it's just what we feel. And as a result of that, we don't hold back. We lessen ourselves. We shrink ourselves. We hold our voices in, and we don't allow our true beings to shine. And it's really unfortunate, because I truly believe that we all have the ability to learn from one another. Adrian, I'm absolutely blessed and honored to be able to sit down and share with you and have this conversation. Well, if I was holding myself back and thinking, well, I don't know if it's going to make sense, and I don't know if we're not having this conversation, and our listeners are missing out on the opportunity to even learn and develop, because that's how we learn from one another. And so fear is a huge one. People are afraid that they lose their credibility. They're afraid of being wrong. That's a big one. There seems to be a belief that leaders have to have all the answers, right? And when I think back to, it's funny. If you go to any person and say, who is your favorite leader, kind of like your favorite teacher, right? Who's your favorite teacher? Who's your favorite leader? And everyone, I don't doubt. Oh yeah, this person. Everyone has that person in mind. And you take it a step further and say, okay, what did you like about this person? What did you appreciate? Chances are they're going to say the things that we're not talking about. They weren't afraid. Yes. They encouraged me. They supported me. They helped me. They guided me. And so but you don't do those things without the connection I talked about earlier. So once you're able to connect with people and you're able to do these things that have impact and allow you to positively lead them to where they want to go. But for sure, fear is a big one. Fear of being wrong, fear of being vulnerable, fear of not having all the answers. That would be if I'd star and underline and bold that. All caps.
I love it. Fear. I love it. Well, listen, I'm an acronym person as well. And so another one for fear that I love is face everything and rise. Hey!
That's right. Well, and it's funny because you also could run too, right? Like, but you don't. You have to rise. See, it's at the end of the day, Adrian, it's a choice. It really is a conscious choice. And we can think that, around that corner there's a lion coming, but until we go around that corner, we don't know. And therein lies the audacity. Martin Luther King Jr. has a quote that I oftentimes reference because it talks about taking that first step when you can't see the entire staircase, right? The uncertainty, there's darkness, we don't know, but we're just trusting our instincts. And we're never going to have all the answers. We won't. But we have to be able to trust in ourselves that we're making the decisions for the right reasons. We're keeping our people in mind and their best interest. Also, obviously, also bearing in mind the needs of the organization, the business, because that is paramount as well. But there's a balance between the organization's needs and the people's needs. Those two are in synchronous.
I love that. Leaders, let's pause for a moment. And I'm going to give you another invitation to just pause and reflect. What is it that causes you when you hesitate to lead boldly? Maybe today there was an opportunity that you had to speak up, to let your voice be heard, and you stepped back. Maybe there was an opportunity where someone wanted to give you an opportunity to experience something that you have not experienced before, give you on-the-job training, but you decided in your mind that this was not the right time, or you didn't have what it takes to be able to complete the action. What causes you to hesitate when the opportunity arises for you to lead boldly? I want you to write it down, and I want you to come back to that. And then I want you to reframe. Remind yourself how you can push past, move forward. Even we're all human beings. We're going to have those anxious moments, those fear, but we will not let it control us. And we want to share with you, Audley and I want to share with you this leadership principle that says courage grows through action. So you want to grow your courage. That means you can't sit still. You must act. So, Audley, I want to ask you this question.
Can I just add to that, please? Because that's so beautiful. Because so many think that I have to have the confidence first. If I can't, I have to have confidence. Because once I have the confidence, then I'll take action. And there are times when you're entering that period of uncertainty, there's just times that you won't know, and you'll just have to step forward. And so, that's a beautiful, beautiful point. I'm glad you raised that.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So from your perspective and your experience, how can leaders balance that word balance is big now? How can leaders balance bold decision-making with wisdom and intentionality?
So through my travels and my work in this field of audacity, there's actually three key myths that I've identified. And the one that I want to zero in on, it ties directly to this point, because there's in fact, I'll never forget this. I was listening to a podcast once, and I heard they were actually talking about audacity, and the guest was giving a description of audacity, and the word reckless was included in this definition, and I was personally offended. Like, I remember just being upset for the word audacity. Like, if the word audacity was my friend, I'd be upset for them and want to fight for this. No, that's not what it is, because people seem to think that unless you're recklessly jumping off. So, tomorrow I'm tired of my job, I'm going to quit. That's being audacious. And what I would say is, perhaps that's an element of audacity. But what I would add to that is audacity without wisdom. It is reckless, but it doesn't have to be reckless. And so that is very much a key part of it. For some reason, there's a belief that audacity and speed are linked together. So you got to do it now. You got to do it fast, and you don't. You can take your time. You can do research. There's nothing that says that you have to be impulsive. Things like listening to your people and understanding their concerns, understanding what matters to them, understanding the things that they care about, and then it provides you the opportunity to gather this information and do some analysis to better understand, okay, what our next steps can be. And maybe at the end of the process, you make an audacious decision, and that very well could be the case. But it doesn't mean you're flying off the handle so fast, because it doesn't, I need to be audacious right now. There's no impulsivity. It's not there's no speed gun that says you got to move quicker now. Decisions are made. They can be rooted in service, in growth. They can be made with integrity, and as well also keeping in mind the long-term impact of what it means for not only the organization but the people as well too.
Yes, absolutely. Leaders, we are inviting you right now in the chat. Go ahead. We want to hear what is resonating with you. And if you have any questions, please go ahead and put them in the chat right now. We will answer your questions in a future episode, but we want to hear from you. So, Audley, this takes me to this next concept and, mindset. What role does mindset play in developing audacious leadership? Because it's not just about the doing, right? Like just being audacious, but it's that mindset that will give you sustainability. So what role does mindset play in developing audacious leadership?
I would simply say mindset is everything. That is the starting point, because the mindset allows us to address whatever internal whether it be self-doubt, maybe we're dealing with the imposter syndrome as leaders. I talked about earlier about the fear of criticism. And so the mindset allows us to address that. And that to me is absolutely the starting point, because if, the appropriate mindset allows you to see challenges, whether you see them as a challenge, as a threat, or an opportunity for growth, as an example, right? That a negative mindset will, woe is me, there's problems. But if you're looking at it from a mindset of positivity and growth, you're going, okay, so maybe there's an opportunity here. Let's bring in some other people. Let's find where we can have some input from other people. Because as a leader, I don't have the answer. So now I'm displaying my vulnerability. I don't have the answer, but who else can we bring that has that expertise, or has that insight, or has that knowledge, or where can we get these resources? Where can we draw them from? And so for me, mindset is the key. It's a starting point. If your mindset is suggesting anything other than a positive, optimistic viewpoint, you're going to struggle, I would say. I think you're going to struggle.
Yeah, absolutely. I think we would all concur that mindset absolutely influences our leadership capability. And I think that because audacious leaders will train themselves.
That's right.
Train themselves, right? This is a discipline. Yep. This becomes a habit, right? We're going to train ourselves to think expansively. We're going to train ourselves to remain adaptable. We're going to train ourselves to be aware and to lead with possibility.
That's right. The whole idea of understanding that discomfort is part of the journey, that transformation journey. When we talk about change and pivoting, that there is going to be periods of uncertainty. You are going to have periods of doubt. But despite all of those things, you still act anyways. It's kind of like taking that step in the dark staircase. You take that step anyways. You don't know where it's going to go, but you still continue forward.
Yes, absolutely. Mindset influences our capabilities. I love that. So how can leaders inspire boldness and confidence within our teams?
Yeah. When you think of a job of leaders, it's a tremendous role, because they have the ability to unlock incredible seeds inside people. You think in meetings where everyone has an opportunity to provide input, and maybe there's that one person that maybe they don't feel confident. Maybe they don't think they have a right to speak up. Maybe they don't think their voice has a place. Leaders have the opportunity to bring that out of individuals.
Yes.
They've got to set the environment. So it's really important that the tone, the environment is set where it's safe, because quite honestly, if I don't feel safe, I'm not sharing anything. If I feel repercussions, I'll keep it to myself, and I don't care how right I may be. If it's not safe, it's not safe. And so creating that environment that's psychologically safe is so, so important. Being able to know that they're setting up boundaries is very key, very important. Things like being able to ask for help, starting over if something doesn't work well, and being okay with that. Encouraging growth, encouraging learning, even your approach to how you see adversity. So I talk about outlasting adversity. A leader's approach and how they respond to adversity is key, because if my leader is running around going, oh my gosh, what I'm going to do, what's that doing for everyone else, right? And so to be able to be emotionally regulated and being able to make sound decisions, not from a place of emotion, but a place of really common sense thinking, using the appropriate facts, knowledge, information at your disposal. And it's funny because all of those little things, they're small. Even prioritizing your own mental health as an example. Those things are all so small, but they can inspire the people around you, because they can look and say, oh, you know what? If so-and-so is doing this, and yeah, maybe I can too. Right. And it's funny because you referenced my book earlier, and so it's the book coming out in the fall. So Living Your Best Audacious Life Ever, and the subtitle is very key to what we're talking about here. The subtitle is How Unleashing Your Inner Greatness Can Change the World. And I truly believe that these are actions, these things that we do. There's ripple effects, and they have the ability to positively impact those who are around us. But we've just got to take that step, trust ourselves, and be audacious enough to do so.
I love that. It's like shifting from asking, what if I fail, to asking, what impact becomes possible if I succeed?
That's right.
Listen, we are truly being inspired to be audacious leaders today. And so, leaders, we want to remind you, Audley spoke to us about psychological safety. This is not just a buzz phrase, but it is really, truly leadership principle. And so we invite you today to remember that psychological safety encourages innovation. You want your team to feel as though they have ownership. You want them to feel as though they can be creative. They have a voice. You must develop a culture of psychological safety. How do you do that? You can do that by recognizing initiatives and learning, not just the end result, but the journey. Along the journey, as the team is progressing, recognize the wins, recognize the not so great moments, right? But recognize them from the perspective of, we are not perfect, but we're being progressive.
That's right. Well, we started off by celebrating your 6,000 downloads, and that's what ties back to me. It's so important that we celebrate our accomplishments and milestones, because I will tell you that as we go through life, we're going to need to remember our greatness. I remember once I was on a very long bike ride, and I'm in Toronto, Canada area, and I was deciding to bike. I wanted to bike to Niagara Falls. And, that's a pretty hefty ride.
Yes.
And I remember about 3/4 of the way through, I got to this one hill. And I looked at the hill. I'm at the bottom, like, I can't do this. I can't. And I'm telling myself all the reasons why I can't go up that hill. I remember stopping and going, wait a second. How many hills did you get through to get to this point already? Right. Tell me you're tired. Tell me you don't have energy. Tell me you're exhausted. But you can't tell me I can't, because I've already done it.
Yeah, I love it. Yes.
So that's what we're talking about, recognizing what we've done. The other thing leaders can do really quickly, and I had this experience, I think it's relevant to share. I remember I was in a work environment once, and our team was given an assignment to do. And the assignment that was given required a significant amount of creative thinking. And they wanted, the assignment was to create something that was different, not outside the run-of-the-mill type of stuff you normally do. How do you make something different? And, everyone kind of looked around and goes, wow, and they didn't really have an answer. And nothing really came to mind for me initially. And I remember the manager approached me. My manager approached me, and she said, Audley, when I look at what we asked for, this is tailor-made for you. Like there's no one here that can be able to lead this the way I know that you can, because of a high level of creativity. And I know you're very, very creative. Well, I got to tell you, I felt good about myself in that moment. because I was seen for who I am and what I brought to the table, and that's what that manager, that leader, did for me. And so I naturally, I put my all into it because I was seen for who I am, and that was a little thing. That wasn't a big, like it wasn't a big. There wasn't no big fanfare, parade, or anything like that. After the meeting, she came to me private and said, "I need to talk to you, and here's what I'm thinking. Here's what I'm seeing." And being able to see people is so key. It's huge, and so I think that's a really simple thing leaders can do. To see your people.
Love that. See your people. People want to know that they're seen. They want to know that they're heard. So as we turn the corner on this amazing conversation, I want to ask you this one final question. So into our community for a few moments, right? What is one mindset shift that leaders can make immediately as soon as this podcast is over? What is one mindset shift that leaders can make immediately to lead more boldly, audaciously, and effectively?
Yeah, it's understanding. I think kind of alluded to it again too, that you've got to embrace those uncertainties, those periods where you don't know, those times where it's like, I'm not sure. I would also encourage leaders to pay attention to that inner voice. We all get that little like, hey, why don't you, or haven't you thought about this? And we kind of shut it down or lower the volume or lower the dial on that. But our inner voice knows, and if we pay attention, if we're listening, it really can guide us or point us in the direction where to be in this audacious space that can have the biggest impact on people. So I would definitely say pay attention to that inner voice, understand the uncertainty, the suspicions, the fears. It's not about being fearless, right? Like I'm not a really big fan of being fearless. It's because the fear is a part of the process. And I think when you feel afraid, that tells you that you're pointing in the right direction. It's not safe, right? Audacity is coming out of your comfort zone, recognizing that, yes, this place where I am, it's really, really safe and it's comfortable, but there's more on the outside. I use an analogy when I talk about self-awareness. I use the analogy of the living room. And and we all can picture our living room. We've got a coffee table, we've got the couch, we've got our TV, right? And if you go into that living room and turn off the light switch, you don't see those things. But if you turn the switch back on, they now appeared. The light switch didn't put them there. Those things were always there. Those things were always inside of us. It's what we choose to see and recognize. And so now so now that I know this, and so now I can see my entire living room, I can decide, what do I need to shift? You know what? I like the coffee table on that side. That lamp looks better over there. You know what? Maybe I'll mount my TV on the wall here. And at the same time, it allows maybe when I pull that couch back, I can see those dust bunnies that I've been ignoring, and I can sweep them out and do some house cleaning. Like that's the process that we have to understand, that all of these things are already inside of us. No one has put audacity there. You didn't take a course on it. You didn't suddenly, it's always there. It's a matter of unlocking that, recognizing it, and then taking action.
I love it. I love it. Transformation Station. What an amazing conversation we have had today. We invite you to go ahead in the chat right now. Even if you're watching on the replay, still just take a few moments and join the conversation of the community. Share with us what you have picked up today, and also share with us what you're committed to go forth boldly and do in your leadership. Audley, I know that there are leaders that are listening. They want your book that's coming out in the fall. They want to engage with you. They may even have some questions. What's the best way for our listeners and viewers to be able to follow up with you after this?
I oftentimes say I'm probably the most accessible guy on the planet because I of course, my website, bestaudaciouslife.com, that's the hub. Obviously my podcast is featured there. I also have a blog that I'm very, very, very active on, and I share just, again, insights and things of that nature. That's a great place. I'm also on social media. At the Odd Man, it's not ODD, but AUD, the AUD Man. And I'm active and engaged there, and I'm on LinkedIn as well. And Audley Stephenson is my name. And again, I love to share. Hey, tell me you're on Transformation Station Leadership Podcast.
Yes.
And, for sure, it'd be good to connect and share. And thank you. And Adrian, thank you for this. Like I said, you're doing a phenomenal job. As a lover of podcasting and the effort and the work that goes into it, I can feel it. It was great to share this energy with you, and keep it moving, man. Keep going.
Wow. Thank you so much. Listeners and viewers, you saw the link on the screen. It's also in the description box. We're inviting you to go ahead, click on the link, go ahead and pre-order his book. Contact Audley. And like he said, contact him and let him know that you heard this particular episode. And also share with him what has resonated with you. And I really also am inviting you because I know you were inspired from this episode. So share with him how you are going to move forward with your audacious leadership. Audley, again, thank you so much. It has been wonderful to have you with us on Transformation Station.
Thank you so much. All the best.
Thank you. Wow. Today's conversation reminded us that bold leadership is not reserved for a select few. It's developed through intentional choices and courageous actions and our willingness to grow beyond fear and limitation. Again, we say thank you to Audley for sharing these incredible insights and for helping us to understand that audacious leadership is not about ego or performance, but about clarity, conviction, and purpose-driven impact. And to everyone listening, remember this: leadership growth begins the moment that you and I stop shrinking to fit. But when we start leading in alignment. I know that this episode resonated with you, so I invite you to be sure to subscribe to Transformation Station Leadership Podcast. And I'm also inviting you to share this bold, audacious conversation with at least 5 leaders in your network who are ready to think bigger, lead bolder, and create greater impact. So until next time, you are invited to lead boldly, stay intentional, and move forward with boldness and purpose.